Hello everyone, my name is Esther, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you my journey through life and how I saved my fellow Jewish people. When I was young, King Ahasuerus, the king of Persia, abolished his wife Vashti after she refused to show off her beauty. As time passed, Ahasuerus realized the consequences of his actions and missed his former queen. As a result, hundreds of beautiful women were brought to the palace for the king to select his new queen. At the time, I was living in Shushan, the capital city of Persia. I was an orphan who was being raised by my uncle Mordecai. We both traveled together to meet King Ahasuerus to show off my beauty so I could become his new queen. Fortunately, he immediately fell in love with me and appointed me as his queen. After leaving me with the king, one day when Mordecai was walking around the castle, he overheard two men plotting to murder the king. After Mordecai sent word to me about the situation, I later told King Ahasuerus. As a result, the villains were caught and executed, and Mordecai's name and deed were written in the king's book of Chronicles. Mordecai ultimately saved the king's life, and I am very proud of him for this. Meanwhile, King Ahasuerus appointed a man known as Haman as prime minister. This man was quite selfish in order that all should bow to him. Mordecai didn't like Haman and refused to bow down before him, causing him to become angry. Already driven by his family's historic hatred of the Jewish people, Haman ordered for all Jews within the 127 provinces of the Persian area to be removed. After hearing this order, Mordecai quickly sent word to me that I must go to the king and stop this from happening, especially since I was a Jew myself. The scaredy cat that I am, however, was afraid to approach the king because it was known that anyone who approached the king without being asked faced the chance of death. With saying this, I later approached King Ahasuerus after praying for God to acknowledge 3 days of fasting our Jewish society completed in hope of him removing Haman's verdict against the Jews. Fortunately, due to his love for me, the king allowed me to have any request granted that I make. Modestly, I begged only that Ahasuerus and Haman join me for a private feast. He accepted this and we all dined together. At the end of the feast, the king once again told me to ask whatever request I had for him. I only requested that he and Haman needed to join me for a second feast on the following day for something I had later planned. After seeing Mordecai again outside the castle gate and not bowing to him, Haman spoke with his wife Zeresh, where she suggested that he should hang him. That night, King Ahasuerus was unable to sleep. After tossing and turning, he called for his ministers to bring him the book of Chronicles and read it to him. Coincidentally, the section that was read recalls a great service provided to him by Mordecai for uncovering the plot on the king's life. Ahasuerus soon realized that he never rewarded Mordecai, and just as he was deciding how to compensate him, Haman entered to ask the king for permission to hang Mordecai. Before he could speak, the king asked his opinion on how he could best honor a most loyal subject. Thinking that the king was referring to him, Haman suggested that they should be dressed in the finest robes and be led around the town on his horses. Pleased with this suggestion, he ordered Haman to dress Mordecai in the finest royal robes and lead him around the city on his best stallion. After he returned home feeling humiliated, Haman was summoned to the palace to dine with the king and I. After the banquet came to an end, I told the king that someone seeked my death as well as the death of my Jewish people. Outraged, the king demanded to know who this man was. I revealed my identity to him as a Jew and specified Haman as the culprit. As a result, King Ahasuerus hung Haman and appointed Mordecai as his new prime minister. Mordecai and I later granted the Jews the right to defend themselves against those who try to harm them. When the 13th of Adar arrived, the Jews successfully defeated their enemies throughout the provinces, and the 10 sons of Haman were killed. When the enemies were vanquished, the Jews celebrated their survival with great feasts. Mordecai and I later declared that from now on, the 15th of Adar shall be a day of feasting in the city of Shushan, for these were the days in which the threat was removed. This commemoration has carried on for hundreds of years and is a reason as to why the time of February and March in the Hebrew calendar is considered a holiday, to celebrate this achievement within the fight for independence of Jewish faith. I hope you have enjoyed my life story. Now it's time to test your knowledge with a quiz. Who is Mordecai? Mordecai is a guardian of Esther who later becomes prime minister. True or false? Haman's wife is known as Vashti. False. His wife is known as Zeresh. Where does this story take place? In ancient Persia, how was Mordecai honored by King Ahasuerus? He was dressed in the king's finest robes and rode around on his best stallion. When was the book of Esther written? It was written in the 4th century BC. What is the name of the Jewish holiday that commemorates Jewish freedom in the book of Esther? Purim. Why did King Ahasuerus banish his queen known as Vashti? She refused to show off her beauty. True or false, King Ahasuerus kills and hangs Haman and his 10 sons. True.